Hot Takes Pod. We are doing an Africa Cup of Nations special whenever we can, trying to hit you up every day during the tournament where you can get your news, analysis, and debate. Today, Alistair is with us. Ali, say hi to the audience and let them know where you are in Morocco today, because clearly you
Yes,
have a sunset behind you. You're on a beach, and you're relaxing in the most picturesque place, and you're making us very, very, very jealous.
you could not be further from the truth. I am, I am in a rain-soaked Rabat. Oh my goodness, drenched. I'm just trying to get to the stadium. It has been raining for the last few hours, non-stop. Yeah, it is miserable. It is dark. It is cold. Not as cold. Bear in mind, I'm coming from the UK. But it is, yeah, not amazing. Well, and it's particularly frustrating because I was in Agadir yesterday, and there it was sunny, it was beautiful, it was warm. So it's yeah, miserable and cold and rainy. So I guess I'm right at home thing.
Well, listen, I know you've got a game coming up that you got to go and watch. So let's get right into it. And listen, for those of you who are watching out there, look, like we said, we want to get your comments. We want to hear you guys talking to us. Don't leave it to the end after Alistair leaves. You want to hear from him. He's the man on the ground. Of course, I will talk to you and I'll tell you everything you need to know. But I don't want to hog the ball. So please, if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Riverside, if you're on Instagram, TikTok, wherever you are, post a comment. It appears in our chat and we'll bring it in. So, Ali, I'm going to ask you this. Senegal off to a winning start. 3-0 winners over in their opening game over Botswana. It's never nice for me to see Southern African brothers lose, but it's the way it is. Tell me, what did you make of that game? I mean, at one point, Botswana looked very stubborn, but eventually, Senegal sort of ran away with it.
Yeah, and this was probably the biggest mismatch in terms of our opening game, Senegal and Botswana. Botswana, the lowest ranked team coming into this tournament. Senegal, the second highest, and they put on a show, to be fair, and I think they did the one thing that no other big team has done, and that they swatted aside. It was really good to see Nicholas Jackson. Certainly I'm a big Nicholas Jackson fan. I know he's been taking a lot of grief, particularly from those in England over the past few years. But I think he's a terrific football player, and especially that second goal. Look it up, man! Wow, the feet he had on him. So it's really good to see Senegal playing this well. Interesting, and I mean, what struck me is they just have so much depth, right? Like they didn't start Lamine Kamara, they didn't start Habib Diarra, they didn't start Fab Matassar, they didn't start. They've got him by the 17-year-old Mbai coming off the bench. They have such a good team, um, and so for me to see that, it's yeah, it's great to see, and yeah, like you said, sorry for Botswana, and but we're we're getting to the end of the first round of the tournament, and it's a bit of a shame because it's first seed versus fourth seed, so we don't get to actually judge how strong these teams are.
Mm.
But based off of these games so far, Senegal has certainly been the strongest.
I mean, going into the tournament, they're certainly one of the favorites to win it. And I'll give Ali a chance to dial in because he's just had to drop off. But we all know of their squad. I mean, they still have the likes of Mane, Koulibaly, all still hovering in there. And they have a structure and a plan and a very African way of playing. And I think we all love to say that. The fact that when you look at an African way, Senegal sort of epitomized that. And I think that's why you'll see them continue to do well. I'm going to get up a tweet from one of my favorite football journalists out covering the AFCON, and that's Maher Mezahi. Because what I wanted to ask Ali about, but I know he's got to redial, so we'll give him a second. But what really excited me was the Botswana goalkeeper. And Maher posted this during the game, and he said, watching Senegal versus Botswana, for my favorite goalkeeper at the 2025 African Cup of Nations. Botswana Gotsieno Poko, a hero to all us middle-aged men. And he's gone hashtag one of us. And you might be wondering why he's done that, right? Why would he say that? Well, that's because he's 31. Poko plays his football at Gaborone United in Botswana. He's won the FA Cup in Botswana, as well as the Mascom Top 8 Cup twice. He's also been named as the Mascom Top 8 Cup goalkeeper of the tournament in 2015. He was also the Mascom Top 8 Cup player of the tournament in 2015, and he won the FA Cup when he was goalkeeper of the tournament in 2020. So he plays for Galaxy. That's what they say his team is, and that's Gaborone United. Not to be confused with the with the LA Galaxy. But he has done really well, and we look forward to hopefully seeing a little bit more of him as the tournament goes. So Ali, I know, has to leave us. He's got a game coming up, and his internet's taking some hits. So I'm gonna ride solo for a bit for the rest of the show today. So forgive me as I just drop him a message and tell him not to worry about the dodgy internet connection. And again, I tell you, we're here, right? So we like to market ourselves as Africa's biggest braai. So that means when you're around here with us, we would love to have your questions. I mean, populate, fill up, let us know what you would like to know about the show. So I know there's some people consuming on YouTube. We're going to get there on Facebook. We're going to get there on Riverside too. But let us know what you think, because we want to be here and we want to give you our hot takes, right? Um, so one of the things that I want to talk a little bit about was, I mentioned it yesterday, but was my column that I've written on the AFCON moving from a biennial tournament to a quadrennial tournament. So now it's going to be hosted every 4 years as part of a 4 year cycle. And, the crux of my argument is that we as Africans need to find African solutions for our problems. And I truly believe by making this decision, it really does have the fingerprints of FIFA on this. This doesn't seem like an African solution. I mean, the decision was quite quick, was quite surprising. The FIFA Secretary General was sitting next to CAF President Patrice Motsepe when he made the announcement. And for context, I mean, there's no FIFA Secretary General sitting at CONMEBOL, which is the South American Football Association, or UEFA, the European Football Association, when they have to make a decision or make these critical decisions. So I find it interesting that the FIFA Secretary General is there, because we know where the power brokers are. We know European clubs, UEFA, have been very unhappy and critical of the timing of the AFCON, particularly in that Jan-Feb window. Obviously, December, January now. We know that FIFA now have a FIFA Club World Cup that they will run biennial, quadrennially, but basically that's their second major money spinner, or they hope to make a money spinner to sort of complement the FIFA World Cup, which is the biggest football tournament in the world, the one with the most eyeballs and interest. So my argument was this wasn't an African solution. It was one that sees Europe benefit more, because now, from their vantage point, they won't have to lose their players who will come to play the African Cup of Nations, or have them play in the summer every 2 years, which they're not happy about either. And it sorts out the global calendar for FIFA, so it's one less competition for the Club World Cup to compete with. So highly critical, because if you know anything, the Africa Cup of Nations is the biggest money spinner for CAF, the Confederation of African Football. And just like FIFA, these are non-profit organizations. So for them to run, they need these flagship tournaments to deliver the profits that make them functional and operational, and allow the different federations that make up the confederation to get their grants, right? That makes sense. Patrice Motsepe previously said that the Ivory Coast Africa Cup of Nations, I think it was $80 million in profit. And it's very clear that the AFCON is crucial to CAF's finances. They need this. So if we're dropping this to a quadrennial event, so once every 4 years, to me, I don't see how they're going to get a combined revenue or more for an AFCON every 4 years. And I'll give you a little bit more meat on that bone. So the first Africa Cup of Nations that's going to be played on the 4 year cycle is in 2032. They'll go ahead with the tournament in Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya, and the one after that. But from 2028 onwards, it's a quadrennial tournament every 4 years. So if that's the case, fast forward to 2032. What's going on in 2032? Well, there's a Euros that summer. There's a Summer Olympics that summer. If I'm correct, there's a Copa America that summer. And now you're going to put an Africa Cup of Nations either in that summer slot or you're going to do it in Jan or Feb. We will wait to see, right? Because, well, that benefits Europe because their players are all at the Euro. So why don't all the Africa Cup of Nations players go and play? And, well, there's a couple of things that are a problem with that, and that's climate in Africa. And at that time of the year, that will rule out certain regions because it's wet and there's, it's the wet season and the rainy season, so it's not going to work. And crucially, CAF want to make more money, right? So they're saying going for once in every 4 years is going to make us more money. So let me ask you this question. Think of the big broadcast platforms, your streaming services, your traditional TV, analog platforms. Think of the international ones. Think of the one in Africa. How on earth are they going to fork out big money for the Africa Cup of Nations when that year they're going to have to look at some form of investment into the Olympics, rights holders or non-rights holders? The Euro is going to be a priority for them. In Latin America and Central America and some European countries, the Copa America. And in between all of that, you already have a congested fixture list and calendar list because the Champions League continues. The 4 tennis majors continue. The 4 golf majors continue. Formula One continues. So you tell me, where is this platform going to come and give all this money, whether they're international or they're based in Africa? It ain't going to stack. The economics are not going to stack unless there's some really, let's choose the word, like benefactor, like we saw, Saudi Arabia pretty much bankroll the FIFA Club World Cup, unless somebody comes on in that way to do that with the Africa Cup of Nations. Like it's just, they're going to be a benefactor, or they see that as a vanity project, or, let's be kind, they see it as an investment into something that's going to go up. I just don't see where the money's going to come from. And look, we can have a conversation whether a 4-year tournament works. But let me give you another example. FIFA have now the FIFA Club World Cup. They have the FIFA World Cup. What that means is they have 2 major tournaments generating income. So they've learned that the model has to be 2 major tournaments bringing in income over the 4-year cycle when the money comes in. Not to mention they still hold the Women's World Cup, and there are other things that FIFA still does do that will be income generating, but the margins are far smaller. And then you look at UEFA. UEFA every year has the Champions League. We all love the Champions League. It's got the best footballers on the planet. Yes, it's based in Europe, but this is a global tournament. The closest thing we have to a Super League. And it is generally an enjoyable tournament to watch. I don't particularly love the new format. I prefer the older one. But the point is, there's still watchable football with stars that transcend the sport. And they have the Euros, because the Europeans have big markets like the United Kingdom, like Spain, like Germany, like France, like Italy, that will fork out big money to broadcast this tournament and get access. They're not going to do the same for the AFCON. Everybody knows you can get the AFCON at significantly cheaper value. And when these outlets like Channel 4 have it now via IMG, who will do the production, IMG, obviously a very respectable house. They have athletes, they organize events, and they do production, and they sort of sit as a middleman who have the rights for the Confederation of African Cup of Nations and go do deals. But we all know that when these houses, particularly in Europe, get it, they do the broadcasting cheap. What do I mean by that? They pick maybe 9 studio games like Channel 4 have done with IMG. So they do 9 studio games, like where they give it the proper preview, review, breakdown. And for the rest, we just take a world feed that we all watch. They don't do that for the World Cup, and they don't do that for the Euros, because people will call them out. People wouldn't tolerate that. That's doing it on the cheap. People have an interest in those tournaments. So I'm saying all of this to say CAF need a biennial tournament, and they're arguing they can do this with the African Nations League. But again, I'll make the point, the African Nations League, it's like light beer, guys. Let's just be real about this, right? Let's just be real. Because I don't know who really gets excited to watch the African Nations League because if your team is in a semi-final and doing well, sure, I can see why you get involved in it, but otherwise, it's just a really it's not taken too seriously. It really isn't. And the Confederation of African Football has said that look, they have the African Nations League. They're going to guarantee that CAF will host a world class senior national team competition in Africa. I'm reading here from their press release, which the best African football players who play in the best football leagues around the world will participate. And, I'm like, really? Why don't we just do that in an AFCON? That makes the most sense to me. And what they've said, and I quote here, the restructuring of CAF senior national team competitions and the $1 billion tender that they have initiated will enable CAF to contribute $1 million every year to each of the 54 CAF member associations. That's 5 times more than the 200,000 US dollars that each member association used to receive. I'm like, look, it's like sitting down with my son, right? And my son says to me, Daddy, I'm going to run the 100 meters in 9 seconds and I'm going to break all these records. I love my son. I mean, I love African football, right? Otherwise, why are we here? And I want to believe my son and I want to trust my son that one day he can do that when he's in his prime. But until I see it, I don't believe it. And it's the same thing with CAF. Until I see it, I don't believe it. I've already seen them launch, the equivalent to Super League, which was the African Football League. There were a lot of people who were critical of it. Sundowns won the tournament. And I said, I support this because it's giving us a different way to think about football on the continent. And maybe this is a better format than the CAF Champions League. Maybe this is a better way to go. And that tournament came and went pretty quickly. So I think it's very easy to say one thing. $1 billion? Who? You tell me who. Netflix, Amazon, ESPN, Sky Sports. These guys really going to come together to hit that figure? Think about it. Well, listen, we have some people out there who do consume. We have RRC Fitness Club 8708. Thank you for coming back. So good to see you. Mohamed Trezeguet is going to feast on Ugur Mudiba's defensive flaws. I repeat. Oh, them they are fighting words. Come on, tell us more. Kulisa Wadao is G as per usual, pocketing Mohamed Salah, Ibrahim Adal, and Mustafa Fatih. Well, listen, thank you so much for that. That's just like a wonderful comment. Thank you for kicking us off. I mean, that's going to create great debate, isn't it? Let me just ask this question. Thanks for the comment. Who agrees here? Come on, fill it up. Let us know what you think. And also, if you care about what I'm thinking about the African Cup of Football, the African Nations, look at him stumbling here. The African Cup of Nations move into a 4-year cycle. Let us know too. We'd love to hear if you agree or disagree with me. I've had lots of really good discussions with so many people in the last 24, 48 hours, right? People saying, look, we think that Motsepe is right. We think he's right to make it a 4-year tournament. Now we're aligning with the global calendar. We're not going to be in tension with Europe. Don't we want to be in harmony? Don't we want to work together in this? And I can hear that argument. But nobody's telling me where that additional money is going to go in any credible way. They really aren't. No one's come and put down a plan. An African Nations League played regionally. I wrote my column on Substack. Go search for it. It's called The Other Side. Substack is a newsletter for those of you who might know or not know, but go and have a read of it. And in there, I make the point, right? I make the point that, it's like light beer. That's what the UEFA Nations League is, right? I don't know who goes to watch like Serbia versus Bulgaria. Who's going to watch Namibia versus Eswatini? Who's going to pay big money for that? I can tell you now, SuperSport, who are the biggest, who just been taken over by Canal Plus, the biggest broadcaster on the African continent. Like, that's Africa's ESPN or Sky Sports or whatever you want to call it, they ain't going to pay big money for that. They're going to pay big money for European football. They're going to pay big money for an Olympics, possibly, but they ain't going to put it into a Nations League. I mean, they don't even do it currently for an AFCON. Well, they do, but I mean, it's not like comparable to what we see is being spent here. RRC Fitness Club 8708. Let's go. You've been populating this, so thank you so much. It's so awesome to hear from you. And you went, Apollos is going to fry Yasser Ibrahim and Rami Rabia. The Senegalese coach in charge of the Senegal national team is a top tactician, a top African. I mean, we wondered, right, what it would look like after Cisse left, right? How this team would take shape. And I got to agree with you. You know what I mean? It's like it's one where they still have a lot of acumen. They still have one where they still look like they've got their structure and the shape. Paptio has done a fantastic job. He himself, has been in and around the setup before. He was at Senegal A before that. Obviously comes from Senegal, but sort of traveled the world and in particularly France for his career when he was a player. He's also relatively young at 44, which allows maybe for a closer connection with the players. And I think, he was there when he was there in 2022 when Senegal were champions. Obviously, Aliou Cisse was the manager, the coach. So I think, I think he is a great top tactician, and that's one of the chief reasons they're going to be there at the business end of the tournament, barring something major happening. Look, we are fast running out of time. It's 2 minutes till the next game kicks off. Please drop your comments in here. We want to hear from you. We want to interact with you. Of course, if you are consuming this after this goes live, you can always leave your comments. You can always leave your questions. We will get to them. I'm going to say good night to you unless something drops in the next 30 seconds. Thank you for consuming. Thank you for being part of the On the Whistle family. We like to say that this is Africa's biggest braai, and we're going to be here throughout the tournament, talking to you, interacting with you, and letting you have an opportunity to express yourself. I was convinced that when Pep to I don't understand that comment. RRC Fitness Club 8708, but maybe Ali will, but we will respond to you later. We wish you well, guys. We thank you again for consuming. I would love you guys to please like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. Join the family. Please, you can find us on social media at OTW_podcast. It'll be amazing to hear from you. Let us know what you think. We're getting there with the tournament. We're getting a sense on where the teams are. Let us know who you think is shaping up to be the best teams. Nigeria struggled a little bit against Tanzania, winning 2-1. I think Tanzania are a lot stronger than people think. We've spoken about them on our podcast, and how they've done some amazing things domestically with their league. Simba's a top club. They've just got Barker, who's left South Africa, to go and coach them. Well respected in South Africa. RRC Fitness Club 8708. You have just asked me one more question, and this is why we stay. We don't like to leave the audience unhappy. So let's get your comment up so people can see who should Bafana be wary of in the Egypt national team. Mazraoui and Salah. I mean, it's as simple as that, right? Like talents. I mean, you can see what Salah can do when it counts. Like we were making this exact point. He will step up when the chips are down. He is fantastic, and I think he's arguably at his most dangerous coming into this tournament. I will ask this question continually. For his legacy, he needs to win this tournament. So if this is the career-defining legacy moment, and Ali feels differently, you can go listen to the show yesterday where Ali will explain. But he needs to win it for his legacy. So, people who love Abu Trike or they love those other players, those other legends who've gone and done the business before, that they can say, right, you've done it. You've done it here. He needs to do it for that, just like Messi needed to do with Argentina, and he's won two major trophies with them, the Copa America and of course the World Cup. And um, he's coming in clearly with the chip on his shoulder because of what's gone on at Liverpool, because of the tension there with on a slot, the coach, the comments he made there. So he wants to come here and just be on fire, right? Because if he's on fire, and if he's killing it, um, he he'll be able to answer those critics to say, listen, I know what I said was accurate. I can back it up because you can see what I was doing, right? Like, you can see how well I played. So we got another question from RCC. Give me one question. I got to respond to something really quickly. He is your question. Let me get it up so everyone can see. Here we go. So your question is: besides Mohamed Salah and Omar Mamouche, please, please, who should Bafana be wary of in the Egyptian national team? So I guess what you are trying to find out is outside of the stars, right? And we'll get to that in a second because there he is, Sego Diramitsa. So good to see you, my friend. Let's get the comment up. Egypt should be worried about us. We have speed and boys who can finish chances. We're a very dangerous team. We are. And maybe you want to just give us another comment there, Segore, and say, I mean, who you are wary of in the Egyptian team outside of Salah and Marmoush, who I said I would be concerned about. But yeah, let me answer your question this way, right? When I look at that team that lined up against the Zimbabweans, I'd have to say Trezeguet. He is outstanding. He is somebody that I think can be a threat. He is somebody who can really turn a game. Zizu, I think incredible talent. Somebody for those of us who have watched African football and Confederation of African tournaments know the quality that he brings. We all know what a late signings he was for Al Ahly ahead of the Club World Cup, coming from the rivals. So he is someone who I think is just so exciting, and to move from Zamalek, as I tried to say it correctly, to Al Ali ahead of a tournament like the FIFA Club World Cup last year. That's like moving from Liverpool to United or Real Madrid to Barcelona. It's those kind of vibes, right? Chiefs to Pirates. So to see that, I think with Trezeguet and Zizou, two very dangerous players, two players who, while not at the level of Mazraoui and Salah, can still win a game for you. Here we go. Another comment from RCC Fitness Club. Why was Krunoslav Juric complaining that Walid Al Karti couldn't play against Flamengo of Brazil? I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research onto that. I'm not sure why he was complaining. I'll be very honest and transparent. I'm not sure. So you're gonna have to help me out there, but we will get back to you because even though the show um what's the word I'm looking for? Because even though the show is live now, we will have an opportunity to answer this later. Let me get your next comment up, which is: has Mohamed Trezeguet ever played for Aston Villa? Because I remember an Arab right winger played during COVID-19. Am I right? You might be. I'm gonna try find that out for you now. Normally, this is where Alistair is just a font of information. But if Alistair is not here, well, then that allows me to have a look. And if I'm correct, during COVID, yeah, he was at Villa from what I can see, and he also did a stint during that 2022 at Istanbul Başakşehir, obviously in Turkey. So that's sort of the answer to your question, I think, and I hope that helps. Well, listen, we're gonna leave the pod there today. Although, as I say, again, we're the braai. So it's a braai. A braai can go on as long as you want. So as long as there's meat, good vibes, good food, good people, for me, a nice cold glass of soda like Coca-Cola, or if I'm in the US visiting my family there, even though I'm South African, root beer. I like root beer. I'm definitely partial to that. And you said, has Trevor Gay played? Because I remember, we're sorry, we've seen that one. Let's get the next one up. Is it true that Matisno really joining Mamelodi Sundowns? Smiley face, smiley face. Well, I think you've answered it right there. Well, listen, guys, leave your comments, leave your reviews, like, subscribe. Find us at OTW_podcast on TikTok, on Instagram, on all your favorite platforms, including X. And join the discussion, join the debate. We will be here back tomorrow on Christmas Eve to talk with you a little bit. And then we might shut it down for Christmas, but we'll be back to hopefully see Bafana beat Egypt. Well, that's what I want. I'm not saying the others on the podcast don't, because we're a Pan-African pod, but my blood is green and I'm back in Bafana. Take care, guys. Love to see you. Salagashle for now.